precisely for this reason. I want every success story to be part of this camera, to part of their podcast, to talk about their learning, their journeys, because there's so much myth around, and there is so much of negativity around why study abroad, what is the ROI, what you get out of studying abroad. So you apply scholarship. What's the process?
The lady who was the admissions tutor for MSc in International Marketing. And she reviewed my application and then she said, there are these shared scholarships.
Right. If I'm a student, who believe I'm smart enough, I have AI, I have internet, all the information is there, you need to look around. Should they apply on their own or should they go through some consultants? If yes, why? If no, why not?
This can vary from country to country. I think for the UK, you can very well apply.
Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you've been keeping well. I hope I'm in North India, so it's a bit pretty cold, but it's getting better. So I hope wherever you are, whatever time you're listening, I hope you're in best of your health. I hope you're in best of your mental and physical health, because health should not only be physical. So please take care of yourself and continue to share your feedback. Love all your comments, love all your feedback. And I love the way you being critical, because that's what we need. We need to improve. We are not doing for entertainment purpose. We're not doing for views, news, money. I'm earning enough money for my core business. But yes, what we've been doing is how we can put across all the success stories, all the wisdom, insights and learnings we have in this great, beautiful, impactful ecosystem, which we call international higher education. And look who today we have. And as I always do, I don't introduce them because I believe I will not do justice to the introduction. So I'll do an easy thing. I'll ask them to introduce themselves. How are you?
I'm good, Saurabh, and thanks very much for having me on your podcast. Yes.
Who are you?
My name is Lakshmi Iyer. I am the Managing Director of Indian Operations of SI Global and SI UK. We are one of the world's largest education consultancies, supporting students on pursuing their study abroad dreams around the globe. So in India, I have the privilege of heading a team that counsels students spread across 29 offices in 15 states. So it is a big operation. But like you, I do love this sector. So most of my career has been in international higher education.
Why don't we instantly jump in your journey? You mentioned career, and also would love to know more about you, a bit more personal aspect of you. Where are you from? How you're in Delhi, right? You say in Delhi, So what are your native destination, about your family, about yourself, your kids, your childhood?
Right. So I am from Kerala. Even now when people ask me, so where are you from? I open my mouth and I say I am from Kerala. Much as I have spent almost now over 25 years outside of the state. Having said that, my parents continue to maintain a home in Kerala, in Trivandrum. I grew up in Trivandrum and did my schooling and my first degree from Kerala, and also my first master's from Kerala.
First master's?
Yeah.
How, are you a doctor?
No.
Still not? Are you planning to have a doctorate?
No.
No doctor, Lakshmi Iyer?
Well, I'm the daughter of two PhD holders.
Okay.
And I get constant kind of prodding and encouragement from both my parents, saying that at some stage I should really look at pursuing a doctorate. But there is the paucity of time in most of the jobs that I have done. It's been extremely busy, so that has probably remained in the closet.
So people say I'm very intuitive. The moment I met you first time, and now today when I'm talking, I'm like, why there's not doctorate to Dr. Lakshmi Iyer? and now I got it because probably your parents, it's there, it's in around. Probably I can predict, you will be doing, you will take some time for your doctorate. But coming back to it, you mentioned that so you'll be part of this higher education industry. How did you come into this industry, and how long and when did you come?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting question. Actually, I stumbled into it. It wasn't a sector where I thought I would end up working.
Because that time ऐसा कोई sector होता ही नहीं था ना.
No.
Right, but yeah.
Yeah. So I did my first degree in psychology with the idea that at some stage I will sit for the civil services examination. But then in the final year of my degree, I decided that it wasn't my cup of tea, and started thinking of doing a master's in business administration. And I ended up doing my master's in business administration at Cochin University of Science and Technology. And then from the campus, I went on to work for Indian Express newspapers in Bombay. And I worked with them for 2.5 years, almost. And whilst in the second year at Indian Express, somehow I felt that I wanted to go back to studying, but I didn't want to study in India. I was very clear. I also didn't know how
Why so? Sorry, I'm interrupting, but why so?
I wanted a different experience.
You already did your undergrad, postgrad. You want to?
Yes, yeah, I wanted a different experience. And again, because I was in space marketing, I didn't have enough time to kind of sit and study for a GRE or a GMAT. So I started searching for options where without a GRE or a GMAT, I could opt for a master's program. And that is how I ended up kind of looking at the UK. And I used to spend a lot of time at the British Council at Nariman Point in Bombay, because I used to work in Bombay, and started looking at scholarship options and so on and so forth. Applied to a few universities on my own, because I really did not know that education agencies existed. I had no idea.
When was it?
So this is 1999 that we are talking of.
And there were few at that point in time.
Yes, there were.
I just interviewed few, so I know few names, but yeah, back to your story.
And I spent a fortune sending my applications via DHL and so on to various universities, and then started getting a few offers. But I was very clear that I needed a scholarship. And then the council sort of advised me to look at, the Chevening scholarship. And one of the universities that I had applied to, University of Strathclyde, they then mailed me a letter saying that they were going to be in Bombay to meet with the prospective students. So I went to the British Library, British Council building at Nariman Point, and met with the lady who was the admissions tutor for MSc in International Marketing. And she reviewed my application, and then she said, there are these shared scholarships between DFID and Strathclyde. You should apply for that as well. So I ended up applying for that. And then the next thing was I started getting some calls for sitting for the interviews for these scholarships, and cleared the interviews for both the Chevening and the DFID awards.
Which is the second one?
DFID.
How do you spell it?
Department for International Development, DFID. And then chose the DFID scholarship over the Chevening because it also paid for my airfare.
Ah.
Yeah.
But why need to choose one? And
you can't hold two scholarships.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But then that means definitely anyone will choose which is paying more.
Yes.
That's the only criteria.
Yeah, which is what I did.
There's no obligation of any, if you apply any scholarship, there's any obligation to that scholarship that, you need to, if you are part of a Chevening, you need to do, it's Chevening or Chevening?
Chevening.
Because I've been hearing Chevening also, I've been hearing Chevening also, but I guess you are the right person to tell because you've been one.
Well, I say it is the Chevening Award.
achieve new about. And so there's no obligation. Why I'm asking this question, because there are lots of myth around scholarships, and everyone feel that mujhe nahi milega. I'm not cut for scholarship. So I want to build on this part. But before this, when we are starting this interview or a discussion, you asked why I'm doing it. Precisely for this reason. I want every success story to be part of this camera, to be part of their podcast, to talk about their learning, their journeys, because there's so much myth around, and there is so much of negativity around why study abroad, what is the ROI, what you get out of studying abroad. See, if you ask me, I'm not a big firm believer of anything, whether to study in India or to study abroad, or even not to study. There are lots of people who have probably dropped out and they're doing, like, they're probably ruling the world, in good way, right? But this is one of the reasons that I want success stories, real success stories, and there are lots of similarities which we have seen. I'll talk about it later, but coming back to it. So you apply scholarship. What's the process? Like, you were clear that you will get it, or you were like, okay, let me try.
So I was very clear that I wasn't going to go anywhere without a scholarship. Okay, that was what I was very clear about. And I consider myself quite, lucky that I got awarded not one but two, and then had to kind of, forfeit one to keep one. That's an extraordinary thing to happen to someone.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people that it happened to. And it actually changed the trajectory of my career. Otherwise, I would have kind of, worked at Indian Express and then moved on to another newspaper organization or whatever, in marketing. What this scholarship enabled for me was the chance to see the world from another part of the globe, and live and study with other nationalities, and opened the door to a career in international higher education. I sometimes tell some of my team members that, I am extraordinarily fortunate to be working in international higher ed, having had the opportunity to be an international student, supported by a very prestigious scholarship, and then work in the same field.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Last evening itself I was telling the same thing, that I don't know about others' journey, but I have sold bank accounts, I have sold demat accounts, and I'm pretty happy because that taught me sales, at Delhi chain, Chandni Chowk and all that. But I tell these students and my team, call my team army and students, because we all learning, that we are so fortunate that we're in the industry which is impactful. We don't need to cross-sell, upsell or push, There should be no panic selling, and still you can do your numbers and have a career, not a job, as a career. Because this industry, if you stay around, there's a lots of option to have a very stable and a very fast growing career. Do you agree?
I agree. I also think that, in any sector, you also need to have deep love and passion for what you do to really kind of, build on something and stick with it. Because if you look at my career, the first job, which was Indian Express, I stayed on in that job for 2.5 years and then stepped away to pursue my second master's at Strathclyde. I came back. I stayed without a job for 1 year because I did not know how to integrate back into the job market here in India.
And you studied MSc Marketing?
MSc International Marketing.
Okay.
And then when I found the job, that job was almost like, a perfect fit to my background, because it had a few requirements that, it was looking for somebody who had got a British government scholarship. It was looking for someone who had been a student in the UK, who can guide other students, and, so on and so forth, which, I ticked. And I loved it. And I did that job for 8.5 years.
And can we go deeper? But before that, I would like to go through the process of scholarship, because our audience is students, parents, education partners, career counselors, who might be knowing about scholarship but still probably would love to have more hacks. So how did you apply scholarship back then when you have done it on your own? and then there are lots of my audience is lots of career counselors, lots of university reps, who would love to know from one of the best. So how to go about applying scholarship?
See, the Chevening scholarship obviously gets announced. I mean, at that point in time, used to get announced in the newspapers, and then and the British Council staff members were very kind enough to kind of point me in the right direction, and I put in a proper pen and paper application for that, and I applied for the DFID, the Shared DFID Award with Strathclyde, only because the university representative who came to India shared with me that information and then encouraged me to put in my application, and she wrote a terrific recommendation letter having interviewed me, and that went as part of my application to the relevant organization. And then you go through an interview process, and the Chevening interview took place in the British Council building on KG Marg, and I came from Bombay, stayed with a friend, and then went and gave that interview. So it's a whole process that you have to go through, and it requires planning. It requires being very determined about what you want to pursue. But at the end of the day, you also have to have enormous grace for that to happen to you. It is not like okay, you would have done everything, but then on the given day, if the right words don't come to you, or you're a little bit under the weather, etc., you might not come across as the right candidate for any of this. So I think a lot of things came together for me, meeting the right people at the right time, and being determined that if I have to go, then I need to kind of get all of these things.
We're going to give 3 hacks, or see, today's generation is about 3 points, 5 points, 3, so we are catering to those generations.
Yes.
So if you want to give 5 points to crack a scholarship or apply to a scholarship, what would that be?
I think I would put it down to planning. You can't aspire to a scholarship and do everything last minute. You need to give yourself a minimum of 12 months to work towards that. If you are a master's student, you need to do a terrific statement of purpose, and that not with the support of AI. It has to be your own story.
Even today's generation, or in today's era, wherein is it wrong? I'm sorry, I'm diverting, but is it wrong to use AI?
No, I'm not saying that it is wrong to use AI, but it has to be your own story.
Original and right.
And why you want it, because most of them would ask you that question. And then the last thing is around being very honest about your journey, why you are wanting to do that particular program, that particular institution, because you, at the end of the day, if you become the recipient of that scholarship, and in my case it was a fully funded award, so tuition fees and living expenses and whatnot, you have to embody that, and that can't be done by just doing everything last minute and not having really thought through why you want to do this.
So you are saying start early, plan, think through, right, go through your SOPs and be honest and be authentic.
Yes.
These are a few things which is and what if, okay, so it seems and I can now vouch also that you've been always be very meticulous student and very planned, and like you're going for your double master. But what about, like, you need to be very strong academically to get a scholarship and apply, or even someone who probably they have a bad year in 12th, or probably have not done well in their undergrad, right? They should not apply? Or is there any way that there can be redemption can happen, right? Let's say today I want to be the best person in marketing, and okay, this life is done, now I want to be the really good at something, but I need that opportunity, I need that financing.
So there are 2 answers to that. One is that, the term scholarship is for a scholar. Academics do play a very big role in all of this. But there are also awards that are given to individuals who show extraordinary potential and promise. They might have overcome some serious challenges, either personal or professional, to get to a certain point. So it is the resilience that gets awarded, much more than what their academic background probably. But it shows the promise the person can deliver or can live up to. So I think the interviewers look for certain things in that candidate in front of them. And it has to be, that is why, the third point that I made was around authenticity. You can't just, so for example, one question that was asked of me, because I had put down in my application for the evening around my interest in Indian Carnatic classical music, because I have been trained in that. And then one of the panelists at the end, he asked, "Can you tell me what is your favorite raga?" And so I looked at him and I said, "I love Malaya Marutham." And he said, "Why do you like Malaya Marutham as a raga?" I said, it always reminds me of a cool breeze that goes through the mountains. So he looked at me. And I think that, anyone can write anything on a CV. So he just really wanted to know whether, I was just saying it for the lark of it, or whether I really meant it, So interviewers, you have to give them due credit. They see and meet and interview a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they have some stock questions that they would ask to judge whether the candidate is authentic or not. So it's not just the academics, it's also
It's overall package.
The overall package.
Because we have a living scholarship with the same thought that everyone talk about merit, numbers, all the universities, achievements, and here DFIDs and lots of government. But what if someone have done well in COVID? Probably in marks they have been okay, but for me, and I always keep telling, it's very important to be successful, to be a good human being. And I've seen lots of people who've been successful, they've been very humble, like there's a goodness around it. So we thought, let's do a scholarship which is on goodness, talking about, like, because it's not, end of the day, it's always limited. So there will be a filter out process, there will be a jury and all that, but let's award goodness, and that's why we did this living scholarship, and now we're doing every year. But coming back, you mentioned authentic. In last 25 years of your career, right? Have you seen any students where you're like, how on the earth this person got a scholarship? Probably they have worked their way out, because see, today's generation and today everyone is very smart, right? With AI, everyone is very smart. It's all about storytelling, right? And even in this industry, we have seen lots of founders who we are amazing in storytelling, but they are doing all kind of things on the table. You mentioned story and you mentioned honesty and authentic. Do you think now everyone is too focused on storytelling and try to not be authentic, and somehow they are making their way out?
See, I'm pretty sure, Saurabh, you recently came across this newspaper story around the student from Delhi NCR who managed to get into a very good quality private university in the US, having kind of, fudged everything and got through a panel. But somewhere along the way, via Reddit, got caught. Yeah, it comes back. Fortunately for me, I haven't kind of, come across cases where students, have got the scholarships and you're wondering why has this particular candidate got the scholarship. At SI, for example, one of the first things that I did when I took charge was to constitute a scholarship desk. And the idea actually came to me when I was sat with one of the top universities from the UK, where they had a STEM scholarship for women and they were struggling to get candidates. I mean, as in applicants for that scholarship.
Yeah.
And I was struck by that because, in India, there's always, a need for a scholarship of, some
support,
say, of some size, shape or form. And in that, they were struggling to find deserving candidates. I thought, we need to do something about this.
Yeah.
And it is, it's something that I deeply believe in because I have been a true beneficiary of the generosity bestowed on me as a result of the scholarship that I won, which completely changed my worldview, which, helped me build a career in a sector that is amazing. Because, like you said at the beginning of this, it's an ecosystem and we are all a particular kind, right?
Yeah.
At the core, we are all people who are very comfortable working across borders, working together, keeping aside our differences, because the focus is on the student and their needs. And that, that is what that scholarship did for me. It opened up this amazing world,
Right.
And gave me so many opportunities. So I'm a big believer in scholarships, and that is what, this particular initiative at SI. I'm very proud to say that in the September 24 intake, for example, across all of the India network, our students got 4.9 million pounds worth of scholarships.
Wow, that's like 50 crores if I put in Indian rupees, right?
Yes.
And that means how many students if you want to put in?
I can't tell you the,
But-
I think almost each and every one of our students, we managed to find them something.
Don't want to put in a spot, but want to really understand that, why I'm telling that, because see, I believe, and same as you mentioned, when we launched our first year scholarship, we were struggled that people not applying. Like here we are doling out money, it's authentic, it's easy to, and people not applying, and we're like, why? Then we got deeper and we like, oh, people feel that it's not for them. It's another marketing gimmick. It's a way to generate lead. And then we tweak few things, and then we like, okay, let's do in some way, and then
So in our case, we work after the student has become an applicant and starts receiving the offers. That is when we really start working on that.
Makes sense.
Because it's not like,
Anyone can apply.
Because we are nobody to guarantee a scholarship for anyone. These are all, they come under the governance mechanisms of institutions. So we have to work and adhere to that.
Right.
But our job as counselors is to signpost that. Make sure that my student, if he or she is an applicant, is also aware that, okay, there is an automatic consideration and, a scholarship that I can get. But if I were to write another statement of purpose, or, I were to look for a scholarship around my discipline, there is another pot of scholarships that I can go after. So our job as counselors, I see, is to make sure that we make our students aware of everything that is out there that is to their advantage.
So see, this is what, we are here to give information, whether it's admission, whether it's accommodation, eventually it's all about students' decisions. We are here to give information so that people can take informed decisions, right? And though, Lakshmi been very humble that they have only make people aware, I believe, they have the capacity to influence Lakshmi Institute, because they've been more than influence, they understand the right matchmaking, right? And that's why if you're looking for a scholarship, probably you can apply through SI UK. I'm being paid to say this. No, I'm kidding. And this will not be editable. But no, on a serious note, that I always, okay, you apply on your own, right? And now you're 16,000 students apply.
Yeah, it is ironical.
Right. If I'm a student, who believe I'm smart enough, I have AI, I have internet, all the information is there, you need to look around. Should they apply on their own or should they go through some consultants? If yes, why? If no, why not?
Yeah, very good question actually. In today's time and age, it depends. I mean, this can vary from country to country. I think for the UK, you can very well apply on your own. But I think where an agency would add value to an applicant would be in bringing genuine networks that they have of students whom they have counseled, who have gone to that particular institution, and even probably to that particular program that the student is looking to apply. And I'll give you an example also as to why I say that. The other thing that an agency can really support a student on is to navigate the student visa. It is not easy to do a student visa in this time and age, primarily because of the increasing tightening of immigration rules, laws, and that entire space has become so dynamic. So in the September 24 intake, and a close colleague's daughter, she applied to an institution in the UK, and then she suddenly came to the office where I usually sit, and she said, I accompanied my daughter and I came to meet her counselor. So I said, what happened? No, she has been looking on LinkedIn and all these groups for other students who are going to the university in September, but we are not sure whether they are real people or not, right? And this is someone who is very accomplished, who could have very well done everything on her own, right? She came and met the counselor, and then we connected her to our students from the previous intakes, so that she could have, because all said and done, at the end of the day, you want to talk to someone who has gone through that experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was an aha moment for me, right? And I'm sat there in my office and I'm like, oh, this is what, because when people ask me what is the value, I always say it is the networks and the knowledge.
Absolutely.
And knowing the right fit.
Absolutely. In fact, I see it so funny, if I can use that word, wherein I'm spending $100,000 or let's say 50 lakhs or 1 crore when I go abroad. This is like a life-changing experience, financially, every way, like it can make it or break it, right? And then there are people who try to be over smart, they believe they might be smart enough, right? And I'm a firm believer that I'm a firm believer on DIY, right? Do it yourself. But also when you're not being charged, or even if you've been charged, when you are spending 50 lakhs, if someone is charging you, let's say 50,000 rupees, right? It still makes sense to go to a professional counselor who've been doing it day in, day out, and then there is lots of mistakes which you can avoid, right? So again, because we are part of the ecosystem, so we don't want to say because we have vested interest. We always believe that, student, in fact, that's where we launched, I can say a world first study abroad buddy for international education, and it's a great way to implant, that part, because we believe we are not into admission, right? So we believe, even if lots of counselors are, they are very fair and they don't have vested interest, but still the perception that, we go to that particular counselor or particular company, they will probably sell only UK, they will only tell only US or a particular university. We're like, because we don't want to come to admission, we're like, we have a superpower to create a world first study abroad buddy international, which is like a chat bot, it's not very fancy, but it's very authentic. There's no vested interest, right? And why we doing it? We thought, okay, let's increase the funnel. And then we work with so many universities and so many international partners like you, wherein even if that one student get more informed, and when they go to you guys, they know what to ask, rather than just go sit blank and then expect. And I believe, I'm sure you've been a counselor, people who ask more questions are more treated to talk rather than someone who sit blank and batao. Do you think so?
Yeah, sure. And see, you get students who say, so ma'am, please tell me what is the best course for me. I think you should kind of do some research on your own. I always encourage students to do a bit of research. And I think, the biggest change in the education counseling space that has happened in the last, I would say, 15 years or so, Saurabh, is that there is no longer an information asymmetry.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, it's the other way around.
Yes. And when I started counseling in 2002, 2003, we still had like heavy brochures being sent to us to the offices, and students would come and they would sit and talk, etc., etc. But now everything is at the click of a
voice. Not even click.
Not even a click. And there are enough forums out there. Students can, and someone who is coming and asking you about, let's say, data analytics or artificial intelligence, you as a counselor should be humble enough to acknowledge that you probably don't know enough about that subject area as the student sat in front of you. This wasn't the case when I started counseling. But what you as the counselor can contribute to that student is, connecting him or her to others.
Right.
Your knowledge of the institution, their speed to offer, their service levels, the student experience.
Basically, we can facilitate.
Yes.
As I call everyone that, see, even if you go to the best of doctors, you need to tell your symptoms. Otherwise, the doctor will ask you to do lots of tests. Which is not necessary. Similarly, I tell everyone that come at least do your basic research. Though today's generation and today's kids and parents are very smart, most of them are very smart, and they are also early in their journey, as soon as they start, when they're at 8th grade,
building the profile building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that's the right way, or how early is early?
Well, I don't have children, so I am nobody to comment on.
But then you have lots of friends, and
Yes, and many of them now have children who are in colleges. But I think this profile building is an interesting phenomenon, wherein if the parent is very clear that their child is going to go for an undergrad in a top institution, then all of these paraphernalia will help in terms of making sure that they are doing something which is socially responsible. They are great citizens of the world, etc., etc. But if you look at young people today, I think they are global citizens. Yeah.
Yes.
I think about the time when I was a teenager and a college-going person. I was just an Indian kid from a small town. But that is not the case now. Yeah, they are very aware of the social issues, the causes, and they really see the globe as their home. Not like India as their home.
Totally. In fact, I was talking to a couple of institutions and couple of people who are into TNE, like transnational education, and even couple of media, friends were questioning me that, with TNE coming in, will less students will go abroad. And I always say this: no, it will explode further.
Yes.
Till the time Uber didn't come, we used to travel through bus and autos. Right now, we only book Olas and Ubers to save time, and we at least in my network, I have not seen people taking autos at all. Because now there's exposure and there's a comfort.
Yeah.
So once you have studied in TNE, the way people who study in IB end up going abroad. Similarly, people who got exposed to TNE will end up probably in 1 year, 1 semester, or full 3 years, they will end up going abroad. Do you agree?
Yeah. So it's another interesting one. What is the fundamental difference between India and China? I think China cracked the formula of 2+1 and 2+2s and all of that. In India, it is only now with the new national education policy, we are starting to kind of figure out ways and means to scale that, including the campuses that are coming up in Gift City and so on and so forth. And you are absolutely spot on, Saurabh. What that will help us to do is to unlock further demand for that exposure, because for most of us Indians, undergraduation of 3 to 4 years overseas is extremely expensive. Yeah, That is why India has largely remained as a master's level, market.
Yeah.
But given the fact that education is such a high aspiration product, and how much middle class India puts the emphasis on their children being well educated so that they can get settled in proper jobs and have an earning potential and so on and so forth, education is very much front and center of every parent's dreams for their child or children. And TNE is a great way to expose them to the possibilities of education systems in other parts of the world. And instead of doing 4 years of expenditure, you get that final year experience that then becomes your stepping stone to going and doing a master's. And it helps, and it will, India is starting to unlock that. So today, if we are saying that about 750,000 students go overseas or whatever, it could be easily 2 million.
Yeah. I mean, out of 140 crores, 20 lakhs is nothing.
Nothing. It is a drop in the ocean, right?
With all the finances also coming in, with all like I guess our current GDP is around $2,700. It's gonna be around $400, $450, $4,500 by 2030. And I was also, because you mentioned India, China, this is where China became China.
Yes.
When their GDP became from 2,500 to 4,000, all of a sudden the money is going to higher education.
Yes.
Money is going to wellness.
Yeah.
Life. You're part of this industry, and now you're with SI UK, stands for Study in UK, and now it's
Study International.
It's Study International, right? And anything you want to talk about SI UK and SI Global as per se, and what are your previous, strain, if you want to talk about, like 25 years. You mentioned your first job was 8 years. You want to go.
My first job was 2.5 years with Indian Express.
Pose, one. And why did you come back to India? Why didn't you stay there?
As a DFID scholar, you sign a bond saying that you'll come back and serve, and I took that very seriously. I had other classmates of mine who were Commonwealth scholars and so on, who probably signed the same undertaking, but didn't bother to kind of meet that. I somehow couldn't kind of put my signature on something and not do what was,
So as you mentioned about, you want to come back, because you have signed. Is it because you have signed, that's why you come back, or you were clear you want to come back?
I think, because I had given the commitment, and I also felt that, someone had invested such a lot of money in me, and they had certain expectations about my, whatever I will go on to do. So I said, okay, I have to pack my bags and go back. So I came back.
But if it would have not been signed then, would have stayed back? Or you would have explored?
I don't know. I might have. But at that point in time, I was very clear. I'd come back.
So you seem to be someone who have got lots of passion, compassion, and even, ethics, and in today's world, especially in industry, I mean, most of people are great, but then there are lots of people who are, is this personality of yours, give you more benefits or disadvantages, especially in industry wherein, or in corporate, let's not talk about industry, but in the corporate, like people want to, say, become yes man, or they want to become, say, thing which other person want to hear. You feel you have a very strong mind and you stand for what you believe. It might be right, wrong, that's a different thing, but because I've been following you and probably observing you, you seem to have someone with a very strong mind. Do you think in corporates, it's easy trait to carry?
See, ethics is not something that, you follow just because, it looks good. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But I'm very clear that I need to have a clear conscience so that I can sleep properly. But more than that, I feel that, it enables you to do good work that you can confidently stand on. And I think there is also the advantage of getting older. right? When you are a lot younger, you're building a career. There are certain things that you see as your career path, etc. For me, when I turned 30, I had a bit of a health scare, and that sort of tempered some of the grand ambitions that I probably had. And I was like, I'll do good work and then let's see where it goes. And certain opportunities came my way. But I have always stayed and built depth rather than just, skimming the surface. I really like to get into the detail. And, it used to be a pet peeve of one of my previous bosses that, I used to get lost in the weeds a lot. But I'm very, I like logic.
Detail-oriented and...
I like detail. And I want to understand why certain things are the way they are. And I have always remained curious.
Do you challenge why certain thing happened, why that certain way? Do you challenge, or do you like, okay, you learned it, but probably it's out of your control, probably out of your way, and you're like, let it be?
In the past, I used to kind of get really hassled about it. I am a type A personality, and I'm an introvert as well. So beyond the point, I need to have my time out so that I can kind of organize myself. But having said that, as I've grown older and have, as I've built my experience, there are certain things that I can't control. There are certain things where I can only, be a facilitator. I am, for example, in this role that I am doing right now, I am not the one counseling the students, much as that is where I started my career.
That's still your first love?
Yes, because that is why I took this job up, because I love counseling.
So, you get a chance now, every now and then? No?
No, I don't.
Bits and pieces?
No, because I'm busy doing a job. But I see my role as that of an enabler, so that my team can be better counselors. They can kind of, be more knowledgeable than other counselors around. So I spend a lot of time looking at the, all those things that go into making a great counseling organization.
Basically, now you're training the trainers,
or putting the bits and pieces together so that they can all be better counselors.
Better counselor, right? You mentioned that, in fact, you mentioned that you are introvert, and a type A personality. Do you think extrovert grow faster in corporate?
I think, I have always had the privilege of having amazing bosses. Yeah, I've been lucky in my bosses. Who
you want to name a few?
Not really, but they have seen the potential in me and have given me the opportunity to, kind of play to my strengths. And I'll always be eternally grateful for the opportunities that they have given me. And as someone who has only had this is my fourth job, so only
in the last 25 years.
Yes, this is my fourth job.
Is this real?
Yes,
because I'm sure you.
So you will know all of my bosses actually.
But you've been interviewing, like we all been interviewing, right? Now people come and say, "Oh, it's 8 years and I only changed 5 jobs." I'm like, okay. And
yeah, in fact, when I started my job at Sun MS4, for example, the lady who used to be the HR there, she said, when I look at CVs like yours, where you have stayed in a job for like 9 years and then come to us, it could also be an indicator that you probably were not good enough for going elsewhere. Go elsewhere, or nobody came looking for you. That kind of thing.
Good point.
Yeah?
Yes.
Fair point.
Yeah.
But what I feel is that when you skim the surface of an organization and just use that as a stepping stone to get a bit more salary elsewhere, whatever, you never develop the
the knowledge. Yes, even the personality.
And the understanding of
That
the
industry,
engine
that,
room.
yes, absolutely with you.
Where everything happens and why that happens, and all of that. So there are
Absolutely.
two ways of looking at it. But I have always, I've had, whether at Sun MS4, whether at, study overseas, and now here.
Oh,
I've-
you work in study overseas.
Yeah.
Luke.
Yes.
Okay. And how long? 8 years you worked there?
I worked for 8 years and 10 months.
So you
with
always
study
been
overseas.
in Nehru Place?
In and around Nehru Place.
So you know all the eating out kiske bhature achhe hai, kiske kya achhe hai.
Well, I hardly kind of, probably step out, but yeah. Anyway, so my bosses have been very good that way to recognize what I am bringing into it. In fact, one of them had told me, you sell because of your authenticity, not because you're a great salesperson. I took it as a compliment. It's okay to be able to, at least you sold.
It's a differentiator. It's such a big differentiator.
So it's fine. Selling on the basis of your authenticity. But then, it also becomes a bane.
Yeah.
Because you have to follow through your promise.
Yeah.
Right? Because your clients are reliant on you to do the right thing by them. They have come on this journey because you have shown them a certain outcome.
Absolutely. In fact, when I met you, and we met only a few times, and you don't come across like someone who will be like, loose talks. I mean, not even loose talks. That's like way ahead. Like you have to make efforts to just to have a normal, open conversation, because why you have your guard uptight. It's always seen that you have like, okay, काम की बात करो and बात करो, बस मुझे आप चमकाओ मत and सीधी बात करो. You always come across like that, which is great, and it's a differentiator. I'm not in this industry. Everyone like, oh, everything. How's your business? Amazing. How are you? Amazing. Or this and that. Right? You always been. I mean, not everyone can interact with you. At least this is what I feel. Do you agree? You need to be like, someone need to be like really intellectual, or probably need to be like very clear and prepared.
I think those are all misconceptions. Yeah, people see. People have to get to know another person. Like I said, I am an introvert. It's it's not easy.
What is
for
your
me
date of birth?
My date of birth.
Yeah, don't have the year, just the date and.
Well, I am a September born. I'll say stop there.
I got it. You're a Virgo. Now I got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think what is the point
You're
in just
absolutely September born. My daughter is September born.
Right.
And my best friend is September born. So yeah, please, sorry.
No, I think those are all misconceptions.
Done. Let me do some self promotion. You just onboarded University Living last year. You have worked for a year. First, really want to understand why you're promoting accommodation as a service, and why University Living, and absolutely brutal.
So I think our job as counselors is to ensure that you give the right advice to students in terms of enabling them to select the best fit institution where they can find the program of their choice. But then that journey doesn't get fulfilled till such time there are other things come into play, like their ability to fund that education, them being able to stay in safe accommodation, and so on. And in today's time and age, students also need, we are all by nature shoppers. We want good choices and selection.
Is it we all, or it's Indians, or it's Asians, or it's everyone?
I think everyone is, kind of looking for choice and selection. And I feel that, us as counselors, our job is to connect students to credible organizations that operate in this space. Because if you leave your accommodation till the last minute, for example, spaces are limited.
Yes.
And that too safe spaces, right? And you might end up, you are in a foreign country, you might end up in the wrong place, and you don't want that for your student. And so one of the things that I did with the support of our founders and the board and so on is to try and look at that space and onboard a few select partners. And obviously I have known you and University Living, and I told the team that we should kind of look at having alternatives, and then it is up to the student to make that choice. We don't kind of tell the student, okay, you go only with this company or that company. They have to make that, because they have to live with that decision.
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah.
But still, and someone who have gone through this journey, didn't get accommodation, stayed in a hotel, and then my roommate, who's my co-founder, Mayank, again, went through the same, and stayed with a very torrid family, right? Then I have a co-founder, I have a CFO who's in management. His daughter didn't get accommodation in Sydney. Then I have a CTO. His daughter. I guess we have been chosen one. We say that it has to be a mistake that why certain people came together and gone to the same problem
and founded a business.
Right. So I say we are on a mission, right? But then, and that's why we've been very passionate. And anyone, even the fact that we came on University College London website, and when we came on their website, we're like, we don't need you. We have 5,000 beds. I'm like, you have 55,000 on campus. And then that happened, and it took some years, and it happened. But coming to you, and you're part of this journey, so you understand the importance of accommodation, right? But still, the counselors, the parents, the students, the ecosystem, like everyone know that you need to have education on finances. It's a need-based product, but let's say ELTs, like GREs and GMAT, which is mandatory. Accommodation, apart from let's say Europe, it's not mandatory before visa. That's why lots of students book or wait for accommodation till visa. God, I'm so happy that now people are starting booking early, but that population is still 10-15%. What we can do as an ecosystem to change that part? We say that there's a merit. We believe that there's limited accommodation. We all say that accommodation is like 20-30% of over expenses. When people start early, they save 20-30% on over expenses. But still, people wait for the end. People wait till visa, or people believe that they go then fine. Why? I mean, if are we logical, or are they illogical, or we know too much, they don't know? Why this gap?
So I think I can talk about this from the Indian mindset. And this goes down to even the job opportunities and so on, right? We think that, joblessness will happen to the person next to me, not to me. Yeah. So I'll somehow go and make it. That jugaad mindset that we have, right?
Mujhe nahi hoga.
I'll figure out a solution. Yeah. And I see this as a, what if I were to find a group of friends, and then, I only need to spend £100 a month rather than £500 a month. Yeah.
And we try to optimize.
Always.
We are a shopper, we are a value shopper.
Yes.
We are two value shoppers.
Yes. We are very, very value conscious, and we are so focused on return on investment. But what I, tell our counselors is that as soon as a student has received an offer, yeah,
right,
and you are more or less, as a counselor, which of your students
right.
is really serious about
right.
this.
Right.
Start talking about accommodation, because safety and being able to kind of, live in a proper place. The earlier you do it, the better it is. And, putting down a nominal deposit to secure a place, it gives you so much relief, at the end of the day. I still remember selecting my accommodation for Strathclyde. It was a pen and paper based document, where I had to select whether I was a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, whether I wanted to live with, a mixed
Same
accommodation,
gender,
same, gender based this thing. Then they had asked questions around, did I want an ensuite, or, was I comfortable with a shared bathroom, things like that. So options are there, but, you have to really know yourself and, do that well in advance, so that you are not. And increasingly now accommodation is such an important piece.
It's important in Spain. In fact, I have to say it. I might be wrong and might have a vested interest, that if I'm an international officer, what I'm saying, you have an intent to go, you have intent to come back, you have finances, and if you're booking accommodation in advance, it's putting so much of comfort to international education, especially in US.
Yes.
When the visa is still 70%, or in Australia where the visa is still 70-80%. I wish discussion like this, bring more awareness and more wisdom. And so grateful for your time. Any question you want to ask us, me, us, anything?
So in terms of your ambition for university living? Because right now India, everyone is looking at startups and entrepreneurs, and it's a big thing for our Prime Minister also that more and more entrepreneurs in this country. What is it that you want to create as an organization in this space?
So this is a very deep question, and I can take 2 hours, but I will try to take it 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes is what you
Absolutely, I
have.
know you are tight on time. So within 2 minutes, and like hand to my heart. See, I want to create something which create value, to everyone, all the stakeholders, not only to me, not only to my management, not only to my investors, but to my team, who I don't call employee. I hate this word employee. We are not family. We believe we are army. We want to create something which people can be proud that okay, we are making money, but we are making money by creating value, right? Then there are lots of things. We want to be the biggest student housing platform globally. We're already creating lots of tech, lots of products. So as an organization, I want to do everything which enable this ecosystem. I don't want to get into admission. I have on records I have said many times, don't want to get admission. We don't want to do many other things. We want to go
This
deeper
is your
into
core.
We want to go deeper into housing. And housing, there is 80 million students who need accommodation. We're doing few thousands. Let me first do 100,000 students. Let me first do 1 million students. Then we'll see where we pan out. But we surely want to be part of the ecosystem and become enabler. That's why all the tech product, this SEBI, when we launched SEBI, lots of people like, "Tu know about admission mein nahi aayega, how are you getting to admission?" I'm like, no, I'm just becoming an enabler. I'm not getting to application, I'm not getting to admission, because there are so many students who need information and they need curated, unbiased information, right? So this is, our mission till 2030. We want to do 1 million international students with the accommodation and continue to grow, and let's enjoy the journey. Very important to enjoy the journey.
Yes, I cannot agree more.
So on that note, the last rapid fire round, probably I get to know more about you. The hobby you wish to had more time for?
Reading.
I believe you are still a ferocious reader. You
Yes.
need to read more. And what kind of read? Like books or?
So over a
author you
period
read?
of time, my reading interests have changed a lot. I read now books around travel, and also autobiographies. Yeah.
The most rewarding part of your work at SIUK or in this journey, in the industry?
Being part of student counseling environment.
Part of the journey, what's the most heartfelt compliment you have received from a student?
So it's a bit long-winded. I ended up meeting a university representative in Bangalore last year, who walked up to me and he said, "You might not remember me, but you counseled me when I was in 10th standard. I had called up a particular office and you happened to be in that location that day, and you spoke to me and you were so good to me, and you did not dissuade me, nor did you speak to me in a way that, what is wrong with you? You're in 10th standard, come back to us at a later time." And you actually kind of made me stick with that dream of becoming a student in the UK.
Wow.
So he went and studied in the UK and is now working for a leading British university. I was actually kind of quite, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I think I had tears in my eyes, like, oh my God, did that really happen? And that actually showed me what a counselor actually means to a student.
Really warm. I can relate. One skill every student should develop before going abroad.
Resilience.
For me, it's cooking. But yeah,
Resilience is important.
a piece of advice for a student dreaming to study abroad.
I think you should do your own research.
One stereotype about Indian students abroad that you think is untrue.
That they only want to stay with other Indians.
It's kind of fact, and I've been shouting that if you're going abroad and you want to stay only with Indians, go to an Indian university, save 10x more of your parents' money. But if you're going abroad, it's just not about academics, and it's about experience. It's about learning. I mean, in fact, I'm sure you will vouch for it. How many friends you have all across the globe where you can go and have dinner with?
Fair few. Yeah, all from my class.
And that's the real joy of studying abroad.
Yeah.
Last part and last question. If you could thank one person for shaping your journey, who would it be?
Christine Donald at the University of Strathclyde.
That's it for about me and about us. So that was really, I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed.
Yes. Good fun.
And I have so many other questions to ask, but probably it's
Off camera.
Part two. On camera and off camera. Probably we'll probably catch up for dinner or lunch. So that's about it, guys. Thank you. Generally we have longer discussion, but I believe with Lakshmi the way she's been busy and managing so many things, it's very kind of her to give some time that too during the week, and probably I'm sure I'll get her again part 2, which will be more candid. Probably now I have realized, understand her a bit more. So I'll try to get more out of her, which is again which is value creating. Because that's very, very important. As we keep saying, we are not an entertainment channel. We are not doing for news, views or money. We are only doing for 3 reasons. One, bringing all the success stories of this ecosystem. And one commonality which I have seen, all the success stories in this industry, only been done once they are in the space for 10, 15, 20 years. These are not overnight success stories. So anyone who's looking to go abroad, anyone who want to be part of this industry, patience is I would say one of the superpower, and be authentic. Try always to keep that central student intact. If they are happy, we all will be happy. At least that's happened with me. I'm sure that's happened with you. And on that note, thank you so much. Keep subscribing, keep sharing, and if you're not liking it or if you don't see value, please do watch out. I'm available on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, everywhere. I would really want to have feedback which make this more value creating and more watchable, because I don't want to waste even a minute of any one of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saurabh.